It seems that your clan was incapable of dealing with a handful of intruders. And yet, you promised me the Sword Coast in a 10-day?
We will deal with this immediately, my lord.
This sad little victory of yours, what do you think you really won? You've already dealt with my Herald, but I am a god. I will not be such easy prey, and I have other concerns to occupy my attention with. Keep Samrak in your Sword Coast. Delayed me you have, but not permanently. Farewell for now, mortal. We will meet again. You can be certain of that.
My scouts have brought me the news. Indeed, all in the area saw the result of the storm. House Saiyan consumes itself with chaos, and the other clans have turned from their influence. The threat they pose to Chult, to the Sword Coast, and trade in the Sword Coast has been stabilized, thanks to you. And I shall do what I must to see that it stays that way. An interesting question. You are a valuable ally. The first time I have admitted such about a scaleless one. But this is strange. You have done a great deal already for the Sword Coast, and there's little you can do to improve it any further. Ah, yes. What is it you want? You cannot! This isn't what I... Fine. Very well. You have my word. I will harm no one.
And so, dear readers, here ends my tale of sinister plots, heroism, and sacrifice. But what, you may ask, happened after the fall of Zehir's dread Herald? What was the future of all the lives that were touched or undone by such events? Fear not, my good readers, as my name is Volothamp Gedar. I would not leave you in the lurch, though I am not an historian by occupation. I am a tireless investigator, and I here present what I was able to uncover. From what I've heard, it seems Samarak is experiencing a renewal of sorts, relaxing some of their more stringent requirements for entry and becoming slightly less offensive to foreigners. Though I would love to claim credit for this, I must admit that it should go to the adventuring party, who went out of their way to aid the nation, and thus perhaps won some grudging thanks from it. Now, as for the fate of the beleaguered Port Last. Though the brave adventurers stopped the storms ravaging Port Last, such action was not without cost. The goddess Umberlee must know of the death of her priestess, and will one day likely take her revenge. Though it has been some time past now, the folk of Port Last still talk about the army of undead that liberated their town, and tales and songs of the incident have become popular throughout the Sword Coast. Except, of course, in Luskan. But that's to be expected. With Port Last free of Luskan invaders, Neverwinter forces acted quickly to re-secure the town, and Lord Nasher himself called the liberation of the town a hero's deed. Her days of necromancy behind her, Naya returned to Port Last, reopening her magic store. Before long, she became known as one of the best resources for magical items in the northern Sword Coast. But what of the tiny village of West Harbor, the childhood home of the great Knight Captain? Safe at last, West Harbor began to grow and prosper. Jan continued to study magic, and with the combined efforts of Laszlo Buckman and Goodwife Aruna, the village became an excellent trading stop for merchants. Today, West Harbor is known as the hidden jewel in the Mere of Dead Men, and its harvest mead is known as the highest quality mead in all of northern Faerun. As for souls who lent their aid, they too have not been forgotten. After the events at the Temple of the World Serpent, Belueth's rage at the cults of Zehir seemed to intensify ever greater, as if she piled all the hate and anger in her heart at the feet of the god and his minions. Eventually, the young woman disappeared from Neverwinter, though cultists tell tales of a yellow-haired woman who appears out of nowhere, slaughters their people by the dozens, and vanishes into the night like a ghost. Cheer Darkflame decided not to return to the Underdark, and instead wander the world in search of magical knowledge. Though she stayed for a time in the Thayan Enclave in Neverwinter, she was soon thrown out because of some unforgivable act. My sources say she then wandered north to Luskan, and rumors speak of a sweet but terrifying little Svirfneblin wizard who is teaching the Host Tower mages new and horrifying things to do to their enemies. Finch the Bard used his experiences in the employ of the Merchant Company to create a few promotional songs for the Church of Joaquin, for which he was paid handsomely. With his earnings, the handsome Bard bid a farewell to the Sword Coast once more, and claimed there was far more of the world he needed to see before he was ready to cede his soul to Sule. The last anyone saw of him, Finch was boarding a ship bound for the distant land of Kalimshan, and already wooing a lovely young noblewoman on board. Grick Bannersworn returned to his order, with tales of the deeds he performed and the things he had seen, and was honored with a full title of Divine Champion by his superiors. Though he was offered the command of a dozen soldiers, Grick politely declined, voicing his intent to see more of the world and learn of its ways, and personally hunt down the worshippers of dread Zehir and bring them to justice. Though almost endlessly impressed with the powerful creatures available to hunt on the Sword Coast, Inshula Sarmashewe eventually began to miss her older sister, Kwesi, and became homesick for her distant home of Tashalar. Carrying many impressive trophies of their hunts, Inshula and her sister returned home to Tashalar. In the chaos that followed the fall of House Sasehin, they worked tirelessly to keep their home city safe and remain as its guardian still. Worried that the goddess Umberly might take revenge on her for traveling with a group that killed one of her priestesses, Lastri Kasira reluctantly gave up on her career as a sailor and decided to become a wandering sellsword. However, a chance encounter with another wandering swordswoman on the road led to a recommendation of her selling her services to Neverwinter, and before long, Lastri climbed the ranks to become a captain of the Neverwinter City Watch. Though it is not the ship on which she always dreamed she'd live out her days, Lastri nonetheless seems happy in her new job and bears numerous decorations for bravery and skill. Though he stayed at Crossroad Keep for quite some time, learning patience and growing in power, Coral was unable to cool his heels in one location for long. When a story reached his ears hinting that his hero, Amon Jero, was rumored to be somewhere in the far east of the realms, the young half-drow packed his things at a moment's notice and set off eastward, in his wild eyes an unwavering determination to reach the far-distant realm of Thay. Regrettably, the fate of the mad monk, known only as Rib Smasher, remains somewhat of a mystery. Shortly after the events at the Temple of the World Serpent, he vanished from Crossroad Keep during the night, bound for parts unknown. The Grey Cloaks, who saw him run out of the entrance of the keep, claim they only heard his jubilant bellow of finding new ribs to smash before he vanished into the night. Though the few sightings I could gather thereafter described the young man as haggard, Septimund earned himself a reputation as one of Kelemvor's most dedicated doom guides, relentlessly eliminating any undead he could find. The loyal servant of Angarod, Soravora Erevan, remained with the adventuring party until shortly after their return to Crossroad Keep, stating that it did not seem a complete journey to her until she walked within the keep's walls once more. Her mission accomplished, the ancient elf reported shortly that her goddess had given her leave to return home, and so she set off alone into the wilderness as she began on the long journey back to Evermeet. Though greatly pleased with the unexpected directions his journey through the maze had taken him, Umoja bore a great concern within him about how the appearance of the god Zehir might affect his people back in the Cholton city of Mesro. Bidding their friends at Crossroad Keep farewell, the druid and his dinosaur companion returned to their home, eager to protect the people of Cholt from the subtle evil of their Wanti. For those who aided the heroes along the way, their tales lie within these pages, never to be undone. Let us not forget the power of their deeds and words. But most importantly, what of the fate of the Sword Coast and the beautiful merchant leader, Sasani? Because of the adventuring group's dedicated work into improving the economy of the Sword Coast and the massive economic strides made by Neverwinter thanks to their efforts, Sasani promoted the members of the group to be the company's co-owners. Together, they utilized the merchant company's powers to restore Neverwinter's splendor, growing it into an economic powerhouse, with its heart located in the now massive structure of Crossroad Keep. After the vanquishment of the Sasehin, Sasani abdicated leadership within the Soringar clan to return to Crossroad Keep, resuming her noble work restoring the economic prosperity of the Sword Coast. True to her word, the elegant Sasani introduced many innovative initiatives to bring wealth and prosperity to the region, but never at the cost of lives or livelihood. She became known as an intelligent and fair businesswoman, and after a time, even her enforced promise of harming no one ceased to chafe her, and she appeared to be almost comfortable within human society. This concludes my tale, dear readers. Though I know not when or how it may be read, one persistent concern still remains in my mind that I must share with you. These events, though seeming separate, have appeared to me to be more closely intertwined than I had previously imagined, each time that I think on them, and a grave chill freezes my bones when I do so. I hope here to report to the world the bravery of the heroes who faced down and defeated the Herald of Zehir, and enter such into legend, that such legends exist to inspire us in the days ahead. So, reader, I stand by my fear that something dreadful is coming, perhaps something that shall change the face of the realms forever. I can only hope that brave heroes, like the ones that I was privileged to journey with, can step from obscurity and face the darkness when it arises. And to my friend, the esteemed Elminster, if this book sells well, I'm going to publish my work about nymphs and Samarak. I have an interested buyer. With flourish, Volothamp Gedarm, historian and traveler of fable. The end.